Okay, the most important person in housing and probably the most important person in the American economy right now is Jerome Powell, and he just spoke. I'm going to play you a little clip, and then I'm going to give you the top summary, the top 10 things that he said.
Indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand at a modest pace. Although growth in consumer spending has picked up this year, activity in the housing sector remains weak.
Okay, so he testified for 3 hours today, just now, in Congress. And like I said, we kind of summed up everything. Well, ChatGPT did, but it put it in a little better kind of summary than I would. So some of the main things there's 10 main things, but the main thing that he said right now was that even though they have paused interest rate hikes for this month, or for this quarter, he still may do it 2 more times. It's not just him. Obviously, there's a whole board of people, but they say they probably will do it 2 more times. He said that the Federal Reserve is still far from its target inflation rate and emphasized the goal of reaching 2%, right? So back in the day when the Federal Reserve Board was having some issues with them and the president at the time, the Federal Reserve Board chair said, listen, it's not my fault that you want to do this political posturing or whatever. He said, my job as the Federal Reserve Board chair is to take away the punch bowl at the party when people are having fun. So basically it's to tame when people are making money, when people are kind of getting out of control and getting wild, they want to tame it back in. So they're trying to get down to 2%. They have not seen those numbers yet. So there's going to be analogy that we're going to hit as we go through these points, which I think sums it up really, really well. So also number 2, inflation has decreased from its peak last summer, but remains at a level twice the Federal Reserve's target. So it's at 4, they want it at 2, right? Powell highlighted that high inflation disproportionately affects low-income individuals by putting pressure on their household budgets. And if it makes sense, right? Because as more inflation kicks in, the amount that you get paid, the amount that you have in savings starts to dissipate, starts to get eaten up by that inflation, right? So if inflation's at 7% a year and you have, $1,000 in the savings, it's going to take 7% as opposed to the 2%, which is crazy, right? If you think about it, because they're aiming to get it back down to 2%. And if it's at, 6 or 7%, that's 3 times as much. You're losing 3 times as much as you would on a normal year through inflation. So really, really something to think about. And they're really saying that it's affects lower income individuals more than most, right? The Federal Reserve has paused its series of interest rate hikes after 10 consecutive increases over the past 15 months, right? We said that. Talked about that already. Its approach of slowing down the economy to curb inflation has been successful in reducing economic activity without causing a recession. Now, I think that lots of the billionaires, Elon Musk, Charlie Munger and stuff would disagree because there is a huge crash coming in the commercial sector. And multiple people have said this across many disciplines and across many different industries. So they've all said this. So that will probably be coming this year if it does kind of come to fruition. But he's saying that, hey, listen, we've pumped the brakes on everything and we still don't have a recession, so we're doing really well, is what he says, right? Despite the pause of interest rates, Powell acknowledged that inflation is still above target levels and indicated that at least one more interest rate hike may be necessary. Powell defended the decision to pause interest rates, stating that the level at which rates are raised is separate from the speed at which they are adjusted. So Elon Musk actually said something about this earlier too. He said that he thinks that the Federal Reserve Board is overshooting, right? He said they are not giving it enough time to percolate through the economy to really see the effects of these interest rate hikes. So he actually defended his decision on that to pause the interest rates, stating that the level at which the interest rates are raised is separate from the speed at which they are adjusted. So he said there is enough time to really feel these effects, and we want to see that. So he also used the analogy of driving at different speeds on a highway to explain the gradual approach to interest rates adjustment as the economy progresses. I think you can see it here. He basically says, he's like, well, when you're on a highway going like 75 miles an hour, he's like, and then there it is. If you're driving 75 miles an hour on a highway, then 50 miles an hour on a local highway, then you get closer to your destination, you will try to find that destination, you slow down even further. So kind of that's what he was saying there. Super interesting. He will be testifying more. We do believe that, of course, they're going to go up more of these interest rates, but for right now, hitting a little bit of a pause button, I think it's going to be really, really great for the housing market.